the channel, everybody. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Thanks for joining today. Today we're doing something a little bit different, but it's going to be fun, I think. We're going to view some of the work I did recently working on improvements between Coxton and Highbridge, which are the two towns furthest to the south on the route. So I was getting some really excellent feedback from one of my good friends on the Discord server who was just kind of offering some thoughts and ideas and opinions for things I could do to make the route look better. So thought about those. I was like, you know what? I don't think those would be too hard to do. I think they'd be worthwhile. So let's do them. And one of the biggest things that he mentioned that would be most helpful, which I thought was brilliant, was kind of getting rid of some of the repetitiveness to the farmland. And, you know, I completely agreed because for me, the farmland here was kind of an afterthought. Being focused on operations, I don't worry too much about what's in the background. However, I do understand that just a little bit of randomness can create quite a bit of immersion. And in fact, if you go back and watch one of my recent videos about making really awesome looking farmland, I talk about it there. So, you know, creating just 4 or 5 different kind of, I guess, layouts for farms, or I guess for the housing areas and the barns and stuff that go on farms. And then even just copy pasting just those 5 in their 4 different rotations. I mean, that gives you 20 variations right there. And if you use it sparingly enough, you can actually get quite a bit of a variation that would not make it quite as noticeable. So here though, I decided instead of doing what I call cookie cutter farms, which is what I had originally done, where you make like a farm that looks pretty and you just kind of copy and paste all over the place, I figured this time I'd actually go ahead and go in here and 1, make the fields a lot bigger, but 2, also work on getting these farm sites with the houses and barns and things just kind of really mostly random, like really kind of changing everything about them actually. And I really like how it turned out. So some of the fields and such I left in their smaller components, like so, almost like back in the rotation days. If you've never studied crop rotation, actually was a brilliant way in the old days of farming when you didn't have fertilizers. So that was my reference there. But so yeah, it's not really practiced as much anymore because, you know, you can just fertilize. But you know, I did keep some farms. I did erase a lot of them. But pretty much all of them got some form of change. But here we're kind of working on some finer details, you know, along the track side. I kind of deviate from farms here and there. I just had realized that I had forgot to replace the grass between or under the bridge there after I had replaced that bridge. So realized I need to change the switch here. So we're going to have an intermodal yard back there I'm going to make eventually. In the setting here in 1971, there were actually some intermodal operations. Actually, it's 1970, sorry. But there weren't very many intermodal operations. But I do know that in 68 is when we started shipping 20-foot containers. So, you know, there were some. All right, here we are kind of back to doing details again. One of the big changes I was making is I was getting rid of all of the old, all of the old textures from when this was a Trainz route. And here they are right there. Ooh. So, you know, back in the Trainz days, covering that up with trees in the background, you wouldn't see it. It really wouldn't be a problem. But here we're working on kind of making things a little more photo quality. So I decided I'd go through and replace a lot of the Trainz textures with PBRs and whatnot. So I love these crop fields that I downloaded off the download station. They're all PBR textures. They're fantastic. They give a lot more variation than the ones that kind of come with the game, although the ones that come with the game are awesome. I also have a couple fields that I left the wheat crops in them. So I just kind of put dirt on there. It's on the left right now. Just put some dirt down and then laid a wheat crop on it. And I like those fields because I love seeing implements like that sticking up. You can also do that with Turfex. There's some really good crop implements that you can download off the download station as Turfex assets, and they're fantastic. I do have them in a different route that I've been working on called the Sioux City Sub. That's spelled SIOUX. And I've only ever put one video out on that one, but in that video I did actually feature briefly a little bit of video about, you know, putting in some wheat with Turfex. It was pretty cool actually. I'm not using any Turfex on this route, however, so we're not doing any of that here. But here we're kind of seeing just a part that's kind of been neglected, and that's okay. More or less, I'm going to stop the farmland after that big field we just passed to the right. But here we go. You see I'm cleaning up these repetitive farms. They literally are just copies of each other. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and do some field expansion. I did look on Google Earth in this area of Arkansas here, just to kind of give a little bit of a better representation. And I did notice that from the Arkansas River, you've got about maybe a half mile to a mile of trees usually. And then once the elevation increases a little bit, then you have fields. And I've noticed a lot of the fields are squares that are about 1,400 feet by 1,400 feet. Now, I haven't done the math, so I don't know if that's an acre. I don't remember off the top of my head, of course, how many feet are in an acre square, but it's not a big deal right now. But I don't think that's what the measurement was, but I did notice where the Arkansas River hit the Mississippi River, there were a lot of fields there that were almost perfect squares. It was quite cool to see, actually. So I realized that, my representation is not too far off, but at the same time, I don't want to be too repetitive. Plus, another big change here that I wanted to do was the farms that I do decide to keep. I wanted to make sure that I have some roadways and pathways that go to them. To be fair, I should have always done that from the start anyways, but I didn't really care as much as I should have. But that was also suggested by my friend as well to go ahead and add that change as well. And I completely agree. That's absolutely a fantastic idea. It doesn't take too much work. Plus, the roads don't technically have to go anywhere. So, but most of the farms, I think, on the route, I'll just go ahead and just delete them outright. I don't need all of them, as nice as they are. I just need a few. Plus, this is 1970s. We're not all small farmers out here in this part of the country. So it's okay to have bigger fields that don't line up perfectly, that kind of stuff. So it allows for a lot more creativity and variation. I also decided I would replace a lot of the fences with these JR barbed wire fences that come off the download station. So they look fantastic. Can't complain about that kind of stuff too much. And then eventually, you're kind of seeing some edges of hybrids there. Eventually, I'll kind of get into hybrids and do some improvement on hybrids as well. But we'll save that for another video because there's quite a bit that I can still do there. Enough to make a video out of for sure. But I would definitely recommend, if you're interested in making really intriguing, innovative, and at the same time immersive farmland, as boring as that might sound, it's really not actually. And it really makes a huge difference having even simple scenery items like this. I would definitely recommend checking out my video that I put out, I guess, a week and a half ago or so, about making really awesome farmland in Trainz 2019. So it's absolutely worth your time. Got a good amount of feedback on it, a lot of good views, definitely above the average amount of views I get, so that was nice. Grateful for that. But yeah, here you can kind of see I'm putting some of those same design principles in place as I lay out these bigger fields and, make sure to create tree lines and everything, view blocks and whatnot. So the only field you're not going to see me make on this video is a field for just growing hay or grass for livestock. There are some of those already on the route, but mostly this time I focus on just kind of getting rid of these cookie cutter fields, even though these aren't technically that far off from the actual prototype. I just personally decided I wanted to do something else. So you never know, maybe I'll get bored and I'll go in later and I'll make some, 1350 or 1400 foot squares of fields and just copy and paste that, because that's actually what exists in this part of the world. So, and they're literally everywhere. Like, I looked at this one house that was not too far from the Arkansas River, and it was like 6 miles away from anybody else. It was crazy. Like, literally the only homestead. So maybe I'll do something crazy like that. Here, I just wanted to kind of work on kind of a background scene, just to kind of give a view block against that the edge of the route there as you're traveling. Here, it's far enough away from the track that for most people, unless you have your draw distance up, it's technically outside of your draw distance anyway. So, but here we are, just getting a nice view there of the Arkansas River. Maybe I'll make that my thumbnail because I just love that view so much, just like you're sitting on a little canoe on the river. And then here, just creating some variation in the fields. Nothing too crazy. I don't worry about putting any actual crops down that stick up out of the ground, mostly because these are background fields. You're not going to have a train nearby these ever. But also just because I'm not hugely married to that idea. I do it for wheat fields, and that's about it. So, all right, last thing to do here is we're going to go ahead and start lining the roadway with some bushes and trees. Once again, not that I really have to, but I want to be able to say that when you're driving a train, you can see the tree line and think, oh yeah, there's a road over there. That's right. So I just kind of throw some in, don't mess it up too bad. It's not terrible, but I don't imagine myself ever coming over here to take pictures. So I don't really worry about it as much as I would if it were actually near the track. I would be really trying to go for a particular look and laying down some grass blinds and all that stuff. And I didn't worry about any of that here. I don't even think I do any fences, and that's all right because it's just a background. My plan for the route, I've got some farmland I still want to kind of fix up, probably about 20 or 30 miles of it or so. This here's about 3 miles worth. So it won't take too long to do it, maybe a couple weeks. And then I want to go ahead and finish up Coxton next. So I'll definitely for sure make a video where I kind of show some of the fine tuning of Coxton, just because we're ready for some of the finer details. I'm not sure if I'll make another video about the farmland here, just because I don't want to bore people to death. I know people aren't always so interested in that. I love the stuff. I love countrysides. I love making them in the game. They're my favorite for sure. So stay tuned for more stuff. Thanks again for joining. Enjoy the views, and make sure to follow so that when the route's ready for release, you can get it.